All right. Hey, what's going on there, Warrior? Jeff Anderson here, Executive Director, warriorlife.com and the Warrior Life Academy. And okay, I got some tough love for you, Warriors. Tough love. I'm a little bit pissed. Some different reports that have come out lately. And it involves you. And it's going to be, well, I'm just going to put it this way. For you, some of you, it's going to be a tough message, but I do mean it with love. And so hopefully this is a wake-up call. Some of you may be offended by it. That's okay. Don't really care. Some of you are going to be nodding your heads in agreement because it's probably going to piss you off too. I think you're going to know exactly what I mean. But let's just go ahead and jump into it and just see where things go, right? All right. And the reason why I'm having this, I decided to do this broadcast, was because of some reports that have come out recently that I personally find extremely disturbing. Now, the first one comes from the Heritage Foundation, which is, if you're not familiar with the Heritage Foundation, it is a conservative think tank. They're focused on the principles of traditional American values, individual freedom, limited government, free enterprise, but they also focus on a strong national defense. And every year since 2015, the Heritage Foundation has come out with its Index of U.S. Military Strength. It's a report that they developed that gauges the U.S. military's ability to perform its missions out there in the world. And it's a nonpartisan group. It is conservative, of course, but it is designed really to not deal with politics, but more to hold everybody accountable and take a very pragmatic view of our strength as a nation from all sorts of perspectives, right? And one of those is, what is the strength of our military? And it does a very rigorous testing and evaluation of the status of all the branches. They do lots of interviews. They do assessments of financials and field reports and all kinds of stuff, right? And every year they come out with, well, America, here's your military, and here's how they're graded. And 2023's report, that's the one that just came out. And I'm only going to deal with the four branches that are typically the more of the combat branches like Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, and give you what their rating is, their grade is for these four branches. And I'll also put a link inside of the show notes where you can see this report itself. It's a very extensive report. It also has an executive summary if you just want to kind of go through that, but I'm going to give you my little breakdown here for it, okay? So here is the grade for each of the four branches. Army is graded as marginal. Yes, marginal. Navy, weak. The Air Force, very weak. The Marines, ironically, Marines are the only ones that came out as strong. So hats off to my to the jarheads out there, my brothers. I make fun of you. I know I make fun of you, but you're Marines. So no, I know. I've known lots of Marines, and there are reasons for all of these grades, right? So congratulations to the Marines for your grade on your report card. But let me give you kind of a little bit of a different breakdown about how this plays out for me. So for me, the military is made up of people, equipment, training, and leadership. That's what comprises the military. Now, I'm going to get to people last because that's where I have a real problem here, and it has a lot to do with you, even if you're not in the military, especially if you're not in the military. So first, let's look at equipment. The reason for the low grades for equipment across the branches is that our equipment is outdated. It is aging faster than it can be replaced. And yes, there is modernization that's in development right now. So all of the branches are constantly in a state of modernization and replacing gear, but it's not happening fast enough to replace what we currently have as our combat readiness. Next, let's look at training. So overall, for combat troops, I think training is improved, right? Like we've developed our Warrior Life Academy S3 Warrior machine with models that have been developed over recent years in the military for accelerated development of skills that are going to save lives out on the battlefield. we've taken a lot of those same principles and we've applied them to training that we offer inside of the Warrior Life Academy for our All Access members that have kept people alive out there in combat and will keep you alive in real life. And how do you take in those skills? Like these training principles that have been developed recently in the military have literally saved lives on the battlefield, I mean, in real numbers. And so we institute them in all the training that we have also. So we call it the REMF model, realistic, efficient, multisensory, and fun. So that's my acronym for it. Basically that we take a kind of a more civilian approach to applying those same principles to the training that we have for self-defense, firearms, and survival. So fortunately, we have had, like, the troops, I think, there's one little caveat here to their reporting that I think they're off a little bit on, but all in all, they're saying that combat troops are like training for the combat troops are pretty good. But one of the reasons why like the Air Force was so weak was because pilots aren't getting enough cockpit time before they go into combat, aging equipment, things like that. So training is actually a part of that. Leadership is another factor. And in my opinion, leadership at high levels has often failed the soldiers. A good example of that, I think, is the sexual assaults within the military is a huge problem for both men and women. And when we hold our warrior retreats, for those of you that know, got a nonprofit, Operation Save Our Soldiers. And when we work with Operation Warrior Resolution, have warrior retreats, we have a unique method that resolves the issues for post-traumatic stress for combat veterans in as little as 1 2-hour session and takes care of it permanently. Done deal. Very unique method. And a lot of the people that come through, mostly for the women's retreats that we do, but for the men's retreats also, there are elements of sexual assault that happen out there in combat zones. And at the highest levels within the military, the reporting schedule for whether the actions that the military has taken to be able to affect those numbers are typically about a 2-year time period before evaluations happen again. Like, it's given time to work, and then there's reporting and surveys and everything else. By the time that hits, that's 2 years before they know whether something works or not. We can get combat stats in 15 minutes and allow commanders to make changes on the battlefield in 15 minutes. Sexual assault, it's a 2-year time period. And military sexual trauma is a very real thing. And I think our leaders have failed our soldiers in those areas. Now, the Heritage Foundation also dinged training because it was relegated down to company level instead of battalion or brigade level. I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, that's from the training standpoint. I think that's a leadership issue because, frankly, at the company level, like, typically when we're fighting, it's at the squad or company level. It's not like, and we're training at the squad and company level, at the company level. And we don't often do battalion or especially brigade, but I mean, battalion level exercises, we're not side by side in that. So really, when it comes out onto the battlefield, for me, it's the guy that's behind me before we kick in a door. Like, those are the people that I'm counting on the most. Those are the people that I want to train with. And I think that's, like I said, I think that's gotten a lot better over the years, but I think that on a larger scale, I think our military has had a leadership issue at top levels. And I think a lot of higher level commanders also feel the same way, and especially higher level NCOs. But now let's go to the people grade here. Now, mostly the Heritage Foundation dinged the branches for a shortage of personnel. Now, this is something that recruiters have known about for a long time, because year after year, they're more and more challenged with being able to get their numbers. And we actually didn't hit our numbers for recruits this year or over this past year. Now, the reasons why are pretty clear when you look at other recent reports that have come out. So, for example, the Pentagon's Qualified Military Available Study, which essentially assesses the quality of the people that can come into the service. And they reported just recently that 75% of young Americans, which they look at like their target recruiting age is between 17 and 24. 17% of young Americans do not qualify for military service. Think about that. 17% of the American population between the ages of 17 and 24 are unfit for service to defend our country. That's report number one. In 2018, a report from Mission Readiness, which is a bipartisan organization of 750 retired admirals, they declared America's youth unhealthy and unprepared for the challenges of military service. Unhealthy and unprepared. And a story was also published recently by the military's health system that revealed that young recruits these days were especially challenged with the physical demands because of years of sedentary lifestyle that, get this, has made their skeletons more prone to injuries. Yeah, even our youth's bones aren't ready to defend our country. Now, after these reports came out, Army Recruiting Commander or Command Chief Major General Frank Muth said that out of all the reasons that we have future soldiers disqualified, the largest reason, 31%, is obesity. Obesity. And I think that retired it was Army Lieutenant General Samuel Ebsen. I think he said it best when he addressed the U.S. Army annual meeting in the exposition in Washington, D.C. And he said, and I quote here, "Fat people don't make good soldiers. They get injured more often. They take longer to heal when they get hurt. They lack stamina, which is critical when you fight in a war. A weak link in the chain, and they get themselves or others hurt or killed." I couldn't have said it better myself. Couldn't have said it better myself. A fat soldier is a dead soldier. And if a fat soldier is shot on the battlefield, if they're not in fighting shape, that is one less person to back me up out on the battlefield. It's one more person I've got to drag off the battlefield and put myself in harm's way to be able to save his sorry ass. Now, I've told the story probably a couple times on our podcast, but I've had 2 times in combat where I had rounds pass right by me. One was within just inches of my ear. Felt it, heard it, zing right past. And I remember it vividly. But I was running to the right and it passed by my left ear. Now, half a second later, if I was half a second slower, that bullet would have been in my brain bucket. I'd been done. That's it. That's how much it matters. The other time I was going up a metal circular staircase laden with gear, trying to get to an observation post on top of a building, and somebody was trying to pick me off with I just saw little pieces of cement like popping up around me as I'm trying to get up this stupid thing. That's a circular staircase. That's not like a flat staircase. That's agility. That is, trust me, I just poured it on. Probably soiled my pants a little bit on the way up there. But that was a harrowing experience. But I was very fit for that. Now, this podcast, I'm going to say right now, is not about going on some fat shaming rant for everybody out there. All right. But I will start off by saying that it pisses me off. It really pisses me off that 75% of our young eligible soldiers out there are unfit for service. 75%. And that 31%. Now, the numbers on that report were 11% for obesity. But what they're saying is the people that are actually coming in that aren't eligible, 31% obesity. Now, it pisses me off that fat kids are walking around out there, especially with fat parents. Now, I get it that there are true medical conditions that lead to weight gain. I get that. There are thyroid problems. There are medical reasons why somebody has more of a propensity to gain weight. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the avoidable obesity that is out there. And I'm pointing my finger mostly at parents. If you're overweight and your kids are overweight, stop telling your kids that they have dad or mom's genes. You have you were born with my metabolism. No, they're eating your sorry ass food and getting fat the same way that you are. Now, if that offends you, get the off my freaking broadcast. I don't give a shit. Look in the damn mirror. No, take that back. Look at your damn kids, because I see them out there. And those of you that are out there listening to me, you see them too. And let me tell you what you're doing to your kids. You're setting them up for severe limitations of the quality of their life. It will be harder for them to find a partner if they're obese. It will be harder for them to land a good job. You are setting them up for severe health conditions that will affect their quality of life. Things like diabetes, things like cholesterol, things like just being able to walk from their car to the storefront, the bullying that they deal with, the testosterone levels of males is dropping every single generation because estrogen is made in fat cells. That's why you see these kids with boobs. Kids with boobs, man boobs, because the extra fat they're putting on is creating estrogen in their body and turning them into women, essentially. Now, this is not just about kids out there or your grandkids. If you are overweight, if you are out of shape, if you're getting a bit squishy around the outside, if you're getting squishy on the inside, you're jeopardizing your own safety and security as well as that of your families. And I say on the inside too, because your outside is a reflection of your inside. If you don't have the mental discipline, the intestinal fortitude to get off the damn couch and take that weight off, it's going to reflect on the outside. Now think about what this is doing for your own safety and the security and the well-being of your family. If you are overweight and out of shape, it will be harder for you to defend yourself with your bare hands. Oh, I know, you've got a gun, right? You carry a concealed handgun. I'm here to tell you, Jack, it doesn't work down like at the gun range where that target is out 21 feet away from you and it's just standing right there. That flat little target, little silhouette target isn't going to move. It's not going to charge at you with a knife. No, in real life, most attacks happen as either escalated arguments or ambushes, meaning you're most likely going to have to fight your way to your gun. And if you're with your family and you are attacked by a violent criminal on the street, you're going to have to defend yourself with your hands. Now, if you are fat and out of shape, you're not going to be able to do that as well. Plain and simple. Now, imagine this. It's the middle of the night and you wake up and you smell smoke. And you look over and your spouse is unconscious because of smoke inhalation. Well, guess what? You've got to drag your spouse out of that burning building. You're going to have to get your kids and take them out of there. Are you going to be able to do that? Is your spouse overweight? I mean, how much are you going to be lifting? How much are you going to be dragging? Who are you going to save first? Who are you going to have time to save? Or are you just going to save yourself? Now, look, I'm not saying that you have to be a Navy SEAL or have six-pack abs. I'm not saying that at all. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm 50. Hell, I'm enough in the 50s that I have to think about how old I am. I'm 55 years old. I'm 55 years old. And look, I'm not saying that I've got six-pack abs, but I have my line in the sand. I have my line in the sand. And I can save my life. I can save my family's lives. And I strive to always be better every single day. But I make mistakes, just like anybody else, right? But here's the deal. You don't have to have six-pack abs. You don't have to be Navy SEAL fit. But if you're not doing something to improve your condition, you are not a warrior. I don't care how many guns you have. I don't care what t-shirt you wear with a cool little Spartan helmet on it. I don't care what bumper sticker you have. I don't care how big your pickup truck is or how high it sits. You are not a freaking warrior. Plain and simple. I said it. Now, in our Warrior Life Academy, we're not a bunch of Navy SEALs. We're just everyday average Joes and Janes. But the focus is on action. Small steps, made every single day, made consistently, add to big dividends. And we have a system that helps people level up no matter where they are at. So we have what we call the S3 Warrior Machine. And it's basically nine factors in 3 different levels. So those 3 levels are that's the S3. So we have strength, we have skills, and we have strategy. And the strength factors focus on what we call the 3 Bs. So that's the 3 factors in there are brain, body, and backbone. Now, in this podcast, I want to share with you 15 simple things that you can do to improve in all 3 of these areas, brain, body, and backbone. Now, there's a reason why this is the foundation for what we do. This is the very first level, folks, before we get to skills, before we get to strategy. Because if your brain ain't right, if your mindset isn't right, none of it matters. I can tell you that from freaking boots on the ground experience, because I have seen soldiers hit their first firefight, soldiers that they got the same training that everybody else did. And I've seen them turn into a puddle of tears, hiding, not being able to fight back against the enemy because they mentally were not ready for the realities. Not the training, they trained perfectly well, but the realities when your life is on the line, your family is there, or your kid's bleeding out in front of you. The mental stamina, the intestinal fortitude to be able to get through there. Actually, intestinal fortitude, that's the backbone. And you have your body. So I'm going to give you 15 simple things you can do. And I say simple because I get it. You're busy. I'm busy. I get it. You get back home from work, like you're fatigued, you're drained, you're exhausted. You just want to pop a beer, eat a pizza, watch television, go to sleep, start the grind the next day. I get it. Life. Doesn't matter. That's not going to matter when you're pumping gas and you got 3 guys that come up on you, your family's in the car, and they've got guns and they're holding you up and you don't know what's going to happen. That pizza is not going to be helping you there, right? All right, so let's go ahead and jump into these. So I'm going to start with brain. Starts right there, right? One of the reasons why the 75%, one of the other reasons besides obesity that our youth are unfit for service is because kids are missing connection. Now, in the military, we work as a team. You've got to work as a team. And recruits that are coming up now are so socially disconnected because all they know is their phone and video games that they're not prepared to work as a unit. It takes more work from our drill sergeants and from our training cadre to be able to whip them into shape. And they'll tell you what they're dealing with. These kids that are coming up, they are squishy in the head, and they're not prepared to work together as a unit. So I say that connection is up to you, because I believe that our families are the core of moving our country forward, both domestically and as a military force. If our family units aren't strong, our children are not going to be strong, and our children are our future. And right now, 75% of our future sucks. The connection starts with you. So how many times have you seen people, families at the restaurant, and mom and dad are on their phones, and the kids, guess what they're doing? They're on their phones. Parents, lead by example. It's up to you. It's up to you listening to me right now to pull your family together. Do things, turn off the damn television, take out a board game, do a puzzle, whatever. Interact as a family. All right, number 2, I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a 180 here for you, all right? So, but bear with me here. So number 2 is don't discount video games that require problem solving. So I'm really big into gamification. It's one of the things that we build into the Warrior Life Academy, the All Access members and everything, and the Loot Locker members. We build in gamification because if something isn't fun, you're most likely not going to do it. Video games are fun. I play video games. There's a lot of problem solving that happens in video games. There's a lot of learning that happens in video games. So if you take like Call of Duty as an example, you might get to a really hard fight, right? It's a boss fight, and you fail, you die. You have to restart that level all over again, all right? But every time that you fail, your brain is literally creating new neural pathways, literally, physically creating new neural pathways in your brain so that you can learn from what you just did wrong, why you died, so that you don't do it again. And then you lose again. You get killed again. You come back, you do the level over again, but you're smarter this time. So eventually you get past that level. That is helping your brain. So problem solving helps your brain. The problem here is that kids are just on video games like nonstop. So I limit the amount of time that they are on these video games. All right. They're good for problem solving, but there's got to be a line there. Okay. All right. Number 3 is to add multisensory fun puzzles to your life. Now I say multisensory. So I said before, REMF is like our acronym for the training that we do inside of the Warrior Life Academy. So it stands for realistic, efficient, multisensory, and fun. Multisensory means the more senses you bring in, taste, smell, sight, tactile, right? The more senses that you add to your learning, the more though that your learning is going to be stored in long-term memory units of the brain, that part of the brain that stores long-term memories. So that's going to be there for you when you need it. Most just gets thrown into the trash after you learn it. You think you got it, but it's not. It's just in the short-term memory and it's gone. So multisensory fun puzzles will help with learning and problem solving. So I recommend games. There's a brand called Kanoodle, Kanoodle, and they have a number of different puzzle games that are tactile. They are a lot of fun. Grandkids, I got 13 and 15-year-old grandsons, and they love these things. They're really great. They have a head-to-head one that our kids like, or you're kind of racing against the other person to put these little gadgets and gizmos together. Great problem solving, sense of urgency there. It's just really cool. Here's the other thing. We've gotten addicted to escape rooms. If you've never been to an escape room, they're literally rooms, and they have all these puzzles inside of them. Some are physical puzzles where you have to kind of find things around the room. There's different clues around the room, and then you put things together, and all of a sudden you drop a ball on this thing, and you hear a click over on the other side of the room, and it unlocked a cabinet that's got a key in it that opens up another box that's got a clue in it. They're a blast. So do that with your family. I mean, I'm telling you, we have had so much fun doing this with our grandkids and the rest of our family. It's a lot of fun out there. Start off with basic, though. Ask them for the basic level if you're just getting started with those things, because they can get pretty complex. But that's a really great way to develop the brain and problem solving skills. All right, so now let's go on to the second factor of the 3 Bs, which is body. So I'm going to start with exercise here. I start with exercise because exercise is what keeps me on track. Like diet is a bit hard for me. If I'm not exercising and I'm just trying to diet, I'm more apt to kind of make some mistakes along the way. But if I'm exercising and I can feel my muscles, I can feel my body, I feel like I'm actually doing something good, I'm going to turn down the things that are going to naturally like draw me get me off track. So to me, exercise is really critical here, but you don't have to join a gym or anything. So let me go on to number 4 here. So let's go ahead and kick things off with body and exercise, which is to get off the damn couch. Just get off the damn couch. All right. Now, this does not mean you have to join a gym, but there are little things that you can do that at least are something. And that's what we're really focusing on in the Warrior Life Academy. It's not like we're doing CrossFit training inside of there. But we just tell people you've got to do something that makes you a better warrior tomorrow than you are today. So let me give you some examples here. Instead of parking close to the store, the doors of the store or at the mall, park farther away. Walk your sorry ass to the store. All right. Anytime I see an escalator, if there are stairs in the area, I take the stairs. I have sworn off of escalators anytime that there is stairs that are nearby. And I'm talking, I've done like 20 some floors of stairs, like in a hotel and stuff. I'll do it. And when I take the stairs, I take them 2 steps at a time. So it's kind of like doing a lunge in a way. So you work more of your quadriceps, you work more of your hamstrings, you're working your body more in the same exact distance if you took them one at a time. So pretty simple, huh? All right, number 5 is to make activities fun. So what physical activities do you enjoy? What physical activities do your kids enjoy or your grandkids enjoy? Do them together. If you like playing golf, don't get the cart. save the money and walk your ass on the golf course. What a great way to like just be out in nature and just walk around, right? So what other activities do you enjoy? Do your kids, like, do they even know how to play catch? Do they know how to throw a football and know how to throw a Frisbee? Go to a Frisbee golf course with them. But do things that are fun. Find out what they enjoy doing and then make it fun. Do them together. All right, so now let's go on to diet. And I saved this part kind of like last in the body category because of its importance, because you can't out-train a bad diet, right? If you go to McDonald's and you're choking down a filet of fish sandwich, a Big Mac, a cheeseburger, fries, and a shake, do you know how much exercise you're going to have to do just to work off those calories? It's crazy, guys. It's crazy. You can't out-train a bad diet. And all that extra hard work that you're doing, maybe if you're going to the gym or you start working out or whatever, well, you can undo that with one bad meal. All right, one bad meal. Now, from the time that I was an NCO, when I was a corporal, all the way on up, I was the weight control NCOIC of every unit that I was in. So here are some tips. Now, I say that because even soldiers in the military get out of shape, whether it's from injury or, they just get sedentary too. Not everybody is in a combat MOS where they're out in the field a lot. Like we did a lot of missions. We did 100-mile road marches. We did 7-mile road march every week. We were doing a lot of physical activity. PT every morning. Yeah, every soldier has to do that. But a lot of soldiers are in job positions that don't require a lot of physical activity. So some soldiers get out of shape. They're drinking too much beer, eating too much pizza. And so when that happens and they don't meet the height weight requirements that the Army, and I'm talking about from the Army, but when you don't meet that, you come see me because I'm the weight control NCOIC, the non-commissioned officer in charge. And when that happens, it's my job to get you back in shape. And if I don't do that, you can get kicked out of the military because a fat soldier is a dead soldier. I have a 100% success rate with getting all of my soldiers, no matter where they were at. I got them off the program, got them back to the height weight standard. I got them back to combat readiness. Now, these tips are going to help you get to warrior readiness. These are the top ones that have helped the soldiers that I have when it comes to diet. So the first thing to do is let me go ahead and put this into a context of like a story. So what I found was that what was very common among the soldiers that would come into the program was that they were drinking beer and eating pizza and stuff like that, right? But when they went to the chow hall, we had the healthy food line and we had the short order line. So if you were in the short order line, you could get 2 burgers and fries, you could get 2 chili dogs and fries, you can get all of that stuff, right? And then we also had a dessert bar and we had a salad bar also. Where do you think these soldiers went? Straight to the short order line. Didn't get a salad. They damn sure got dessert though. You can count on that. So it was obvious, right? So here are some of the things that helped me to get them off. So first of all, it wasn't about denial, because I knew if I just put them on like bark and water diet, that when it came Friday night and they were in the barracks, it was going to be twice as much beer, twice as much pizza, because they were going to whiplash backwards, right? So here's what we did. This is tip number 6, is to eat a salad or an apple before you eat your meal. So this is what I had them do. Instead of going into the short order line, I had them go over to the salad bar first and eat a salad. So first of all, they're getting vegetables, they're getting vitamins and minerals that they normally weren't getting from other things. And so they were getting that in. But the other thing is that your brain starts to send a signal to your body that you're full. You actually start feeling full because your brain's saying it. Your hormones that are being released are letting your body know that you're eating and you're going to be full. So it gives you you don't feel like you're starving yourself. You're eating the salad. It's also going to give you good fiber. Another thing that a lot of people that are obese and are eating really bad diets don't get enough fiber. So that's one thing. So that's one thing that it helped with. Other thing, like if you're going to eat out, like eating an apple also has fiber in it, has pectin in it, which also helps you feel full. And so like on the way to and on the way to a restaurant, you can eat an apple in the car, and that way you don't have to eat like the crappy, all those appetizers and stuff, the wings and loaded fries, whatever, right? So anyway, so the soldiers that I had to first either eat an apple or eat a salad. Then, which line do you think I had them get into? The healthy food line or the short order line? The short order line. Only this time, they weren't allowed to get 2 chili dogs and fries. They were only allowed to get 1 chili dog or 1 burger and fries. What ended up happening was they wouldn't eat all the fries. They might eat all the burger or all the chili dog, right? But they wouldn't eat all the fries. And so essentially, they got more fiber, they got more vitamins, more minerals, they got a healthier meal to start out, and they cut their calories in half what they were getting. Now, combine that with the exercise, now we've got a winning combination, right? So let's go ahead and take this into your world even more in number 7, because one of the hardest challenges for people is eating out. So what I tell people to do is that if you go to eat out, when you order your meal, have them put half of the meal into a doggy bag, into a takeout container back in the kitchen. So when they bring your meal out, half of it's going to be on the plate and half of it is already going to be in a bag in a takeout container. Now, there have been studies that have done that show that when restaurants serve bigger plates and more food, people eat to the plate. They serve smaller plates, they can still be filled up with food. They're just going to eat the same amount eat that much of the plate. So you're eating more calories by having more on the plate. You're going to eat more food than you have on the plate. Now, the side benefit of this is that you're also going to have food for the next day. So you're going to be good to go there as well. All right. So that's one thing to do. Now, a big thing that works, because we all have our little our Achilles heel, right? For me, it's nachos. I love nachos, man. I love nachos and beer. Love it. So tip number 8 is to find healthy substitutions for the comfort foods that you know are your personal weakness. So if that is ice cream, you can make your own ice cream. Basically, what you can do is you can take either some milk. I recommend an alternative milk like an almond milk or something like that. And like I love strawberry shakes. If I take some protein powder, I take some egg white protein powder and a little bit of almond milk and some frozen strawberries and blend that up in a blender, to me, it tastes no different than an ice cream shake. But it's just a smoothie. It's just a protein smoothie. So I'm getting good nutrients in my body, and rather than all the fat and everything and the sugar from and I use stevia sweetened protein powder, but I'm not getting the sugar from like a milkshake. Now, I love nachos, but nachos have like corn chips and they're cooked in vegetable oil. They have a lot of cheese on them. Doesn't matter. Siete brand chips are made from cassava flour, which is it's paleo friendly. It's cooked in avocado oil, so it's a healthier fat for you. And I put some refried beans on there. I put on sometimes I'll put on some meat there. So I'll put some grilled chicken. So what we like to do is put a little bit of barbecue sauce in the grilled chicken. We have used things like jackfruit, which is I guess it's a fruit. It's called jackfruit, but it has kind of a meatier texture to it. We have done, I'll use burger. We'll use things like that. Cheese is a big thing that takes, adds a lot of calories to it, but cheese you don't really taste cheese as much. It's more of just like a fatty texture. And what I find is that avocado has that same fatty texture because it's largely a lot of monounsaturated fats, healthy fats. Your body needs healthy fats. Your cells are made up. The cell structure that you have is made up of fat. Your brain is largely made up of fat cells. So you need fats, but you need good quality fats. That fat that your body is made of, those good quality fats, are those fats, if they're either going to be made from the crappy ass fat that you put in your body or good healthy fat that optimizes cell function, give it healthy fats. So I find that the avocado is a very healthy way of adding extra nutrients, protein, and healthy fats to your diet as well. Now, you add a little bit of sour cream on there and salsa, which is, hey, vegetables, right? It's vegetables. Throw that on there. Now you've got a healthy meal that, and go to most restaurants, that stuff's going to be laden with fat and extra calories that you don't need, okay? All right, so you just have to find healthy substitutions for yourself. One of the things, like we do this with the veterans that come through our warrior retreats also, because we do go over diet there, because a lot of them are out of shape because people use food as a drug. And so when soldiers are suffering from combat post-traumatic stress, a lot of times like they use food as a drug, and so a lot of them are overweight. And so we tell the same information for them. In fact, Melissa, my schmoops, and I were talking this morning, and one of the things I think that we are going to add to the Warrior Life Academy in 2023, we've been doing or trying to get to a monthly Tactical Taco Tuesday, where I do a Q&A and I make healthy tacos right there. I do like a weird version of tacos, different recipe each month. And what we're looking to do is to do these healthy substitution, kind of like cooking shows that we're also answering questions and things like that. So we're adding that to the Warrior Life Academy in 2023. All right, tip number 9 here is really has to do with your children. If you have children or grandkids that you struggle with getting them to eat healthier, have them pick out recipes. Like, look through a recipe book. First of all, find a healthy recipe book. That'll be best. Or look through a regular recipe book and then work with them to brainstorm ways that you can both make it healthier. Find ways to add those healthy substitutions. I just gave you some examples that you can do with something like nachos, but what are some other things that you can do? If your kids, even the snacks that they have, right? Instead of like potato chips, fatty, right? There's like just no nutritional quality to those. But one of the things we talk about in our warrior retreats is that it's not just the it's the textures, it's the certain types of flavors. So for potato chips, like they're crunchy, they're salty, they're fatty. Well, what we tell people is things like celery sticks that have like peanut butter or almond butter or even cream cheese in them. Celery sticks are salty, they're crunchy, just like potato chips are, but they're healthier for you. They're healthy for you, plain and simple. Adding some almond butter to that, throw some raisins in there, right? You have ants on a log. If kids have the opportunity to eat these things, they will like them, and they're having healthy. So it gets the healthy fats, and there's a creamy texture. The raisins can add some sweetness to it as well. So they got salty, sweet. It's all good stuff, right? All good stuff. So let them pick out recipes, and then brainstorm healthier substitutions for them. Now, number 10 here is if you hate vegetables or your kids hate vegetables, they don't like eating vegetables, start a garden. The Grow Network, Marjorie Wildcraft is a friend of mine, and she has an incredible website, the Grow Network. I think it's grownetwork.com. And I'll put a link also in the show notes where there is she has a video that she shows people that with no experience, the fastest way to get up and running with anything that is self-sustaining, like a garden or raising chickens, things like that. So just you don't need to have like till land or anything like that. You can do this. You can do things in like a raised bed garden. You can have earth bucket gardening. You can do hydroponic gardening. Do these as science experiments for school for them. But if they're growing it, it's going to taste different to them. The other thing that Melissa and I do is we like cold pressed juices. So we have a really nice cold pressed juicer. We also have sometimes done juices where we put it in the Vitamixer where we're getting the fiber in it, because the cold pressed juicer is going to extract the juice. It's going to leave behind the pulp, but that's where all the fiber is. So we actually take that pulp, we put it inside of pasta sauce. We've made cookies out of it. We made breads out of it. And so this is getting the fiber back in our diet also, but we're also getting the vitamins and minerals in the juices and things like that as well. All right. So that's tip number 10, is to do something around vegetables, get more fiber in there. All right. So now let's go ahead and go on to backbone. It's the third B. Okay. All right. So point number 11 here is, in the military, we have this saying called embrace the suck, because there are lots of sucky times. I can tell you, I've been soaked to the bone, freezing my ass off, feeling like I was going to be a human popsicle, but there's nothing you can do about it other than to find a way to get warm. I did a whole podcast last week on extreme survival clothing, advanced clothing secrets from the US military. And I learned a lot about how to use our body and clothing in combination to be able to stay warm and dry in harsh environments. And so we have this thing called embrace the suck, because there's nothing you can really do about it. I take it one step further, and I tell people to seek the suck. Because most people, I mean, you're not in the military, so you don't really have to deal with embracing it all that much. But some of you may have jobs where you're like in construction or roofing, where you might be out in the elements and you have to, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. But not everybody is like that. So you've got to seek discomfort. That's what builds adversity to harsh elements. You don't want the first time that you're dealing with a natural disaster or any sort of thing that's going to make you rise to the occasion. You want to be as ready mentally, physically, and have that intestinal fortitude to be able to rise to the occasion and be warrior ready in that moment. Now, I have to say, like, I'll admit my mistakes also. As a parent, I was a bulldozer parent because I didn't have a lot growing up, and I wanted to make sure my son, like, I tried clearing all the obstacles out in front of him. And that wasn't right. He's paid the price for it. I've paid the price for it. He hasn't been able to stand up to adversity as much as I would like to have. He's 20 years old now, and he struggled with things over life. And he still will call me up and bitch and complain to me about stuff, thinking that I'm just going to give him the solution. I got to tell you, it's hard for me not to give him a solution, but I did him a disservice, and I'm correcting that now. It's funny because it's kind of a funny story that goes along with this. He's living up in Illinois right now, and he's been doing sales for funeral services and cemetery plots. So he's pre-selling cemetery plots. So if you think you're gonna die, you need a grave site, like, he'll sell you the grave site at today's prices so that when you die, your family doesn't have to pay for it at higher prices. Well, he wasn't that great at it. And he didn't really put all of his all into it. And he had a bitch of a sales manager that just rode his ass. And he really struggled with it on a lot of different levels. And he ended up just leaving a couple days ago. He left the job. Now, he stayed within the company, and he took a job as a groundskeeper. And I remember him calling me up. I knew he was thinking about transitioning out of it. And he called me up on the phone, and he's like, "Well, Dad, aren't you proud? Your son's a grave digger." And he laughed about it a little bit, but I could hear the hurt in his voice, that he felt like he'd failed me. And I said, "Yeah, I am proud of you." And he's like, no, I know. It's like, but, I need a job or whatever. Like, no, I'm serious. I'm proud of you. Because one, he's not like a good salesperson. Like he's not a natural salesperson, but you tried it. And you learned a lot about people skills. You learned about getting the phone when you're cold calling, people telling you to go, screw yourself, and then hanging up on you. You dealt with rejection. Not everybody can do that, but he did that. He wasn't all that great at studying in school. He had to study for his insurance test. That's one of the factors that you need to do with this type of a sales job. And he ended up not actually going for the test. Studying for him was really hard. But I'm proud of him because he tried it. But here's what I told him. First of all, I've learned more from my failures in life than I've ever learned from my successes. Absolutely. My mistakes have been the biggest, the best gifts for me. I told him the only way this would be a failure for you is if you don't learn from what you just went through in this job. And I told him, I said, you and I both know you did not give this your all. You were not giving this your best shot. You didn't study as much as you should have. You didn't call as much as you should have. You didn't book as many appointments because you didn't like it. You didn't give it your all. Could you have been successful? Maybe. But you weren't, because you didn't really try as much as you could have. Now, here's what's a failure. You go into your next job. And you don't give it your all. then you didn't learn. And if you didn't learn, that's failure. It's not failure in that job. It's failure that you're not learning from your mistakes and bettering your life to be a better warrior tomorrow than you are today. Now, he's in Illinois, about ready to start digging graves in the middle of winter in Illinois, because people are still dying and the graves still have to be dug. It's going to suck. It's going to suck. Now, folks, I'll tell you, funny story here is I'm still like, I'm not saying I'm perfect. Last week I did a podcast episode on survival clothing. I talked about extreme harsh like winters as well. And I talked about the equipment that we had in the military. We were testing unit 10th Mountain, and I talked about what I learned, very valuable lessons I learned about clothing when it comes to harsh environments. And the other day I was talking to Melissa in the car, and I said, Tristan's coming in. I know, he's going to be digging these graves. I said, I'm going to go out and buy him some polypropylene underwear and make sure he has some good gloves. And I'm going to, we're going to get some boots and things like that. And she just kind of smirked at me. And then she started laughing. I was like, oh shit, I did it again, didn't I? And she started laughing. And I was like, I was ready to swoop in there, put my cape on and be super dad and bulldoze those obstacles out in front of him. It's like, no. I told him last week, I said, hey man, with that job you're going to be doing, like you should really listen to my podcast, because I talk about the clothing that you should really wear there, because it's not how most people would dress for harsh weather. So you should go listen to it. So I'm not giving him, I've already given him his solution. Go listen to my podcast. Now it's up to him to go listen to it. Will he do it? I don't know. But maybe after freezing his ass off a couple times out there where he can't feel his toes, maybe he'll go back and listen to it and do things the right way. All right, number 12 on our list here is to get outdoors, like commune with nature. Like we have gotten so disconnected from the earth. Go hiking, go fishing, go hunting, go shooting at an outdoor range, go canoeing or kayaking, go play golf, go do something outdoors. I mean, I love golf because I feel like I am out in nature. I mean, there's water there, there's sand there. I try to stay away from the water and the sand, but you're in a wooded area. Like to me, it's just very serene. I feel so at peace there. So get outdoors, get your kids outdoors, go hiking for God's sakes. All right. Okay. Number 13 here. I'm going to go back to the video games here to really ramp things up. Realistic, efficient, multisensory, and fun, right? So let's go back to the video games. Call of Duty. And know about that. That's like it's a military game, right? A first-person shooter game. So let's go ahead and ramp this up a little bit and go hit the paintball field. Take your kids out on the paintball field, your grandkids out on the paintball field. I say that because Call of Duty, it's kind of passive, right? Shoot, I died. I got to go back and start the level. Shoot, I died again. Paintball hurts. It hurts. When you get hit with that paintball marker, it's going to hurt. And pain will teach you some lessons, like keep your damn head down. You're going to learn about concealment and cover. You're going to learn about tactics. You're going to learn about problem solving. You're going to learn about teamwork. You're going to learn about feeling pain and pushing through the pain. I can tell you, like on the paintball field, typically what happens is if you get hit, right? Ouch, hurts, and you're off the field because you're dead, right? There are other ways to play the game where it doesn't count if you get hit in the hand or your arm, only in the torso or your legs or something like that. Then there's Superman. And I like Superman. I've never lost a Superman match. Superman is where there is no you're off the field. You're off the field when you say, all right, I give, that hurts too much. You can get hit 20 times, it doesn't matter. Like you're going to keep going until you quit. Now, this is usually at the paintball fields, this is usually like, toward the end of the day, and the controllers out there will just ask people who wants to do it or whatsoever, so it's not like you're going to the paintball field if it's your first time, like you're going to be stuck in that. But I've never lost because I don't ever quit. I've had people like 5 feet away, which you're not supposed to be within 10 feet. So I have people 5 feet away shoot me. I shoot them back. They're instantly out. I can take multiple shots. It doesn't matter. I'm going to leave with welts. I'll have bruises for a couple of weeks, but I'm never going to quit. All right. builds up intestinal fortitude. All right, number 14 here is to go to a self-defense seminar. So I'm not even saying that you need to join self-defense classes or anything like that. There are weekend workshops that you can take. Typically, they're going to be things like in Krav Maga, you're going to be able to find something, but do a search in your area for that type of combatives training. I think it's very important that you face off with another person. Even, we tell people, and we've done training, force-on-force training with firearms, with airsoft, and with blanks, marker rounds, things like that. It's a totally different experience when you've got somebody shooting back at you. It's not the range experience where that flat target isn't shooting back. So what you want to do is find just a weekend seminar. It's going to help give you some skills, yes, but it's also going to give you the ability to go into combat with another person. So even if it's just training back and forth, I'm not saying sparring or anything like that. I'm just saying like training. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a great community of people, of warriors. And these guys are tight. I'm not personally in one. It's funny. I went to the range a couple of weeks ago with Royce Gracie, and he's quite the shooter for a guy that's like a legend in UFC, first UFC champion, I think. And that community, like the Navy SEALs that came out, we were shooting. Had a couple Navy SEAL friends, a Delta guy, Cags, and then Royce. And man, I'll tell you, it's a blast. It's a blast out there. So, get out there. They're all in the BJJ, and I'm not near where they're rolling. So I'm not doing that, but just a weekend seminar is all you really need to help just do something, right? Okay. The final one here is going to be a real challenge for most people out there. And I mean, when I say it's a challenge, I mean, it's going to be a mental challenge for you. A couple of weeks ago, we had a special event, a fundraising dinner for our big donors for our nonprofit for Operation Warrior Resolution, and my nonprofit Operation Save Our Soldiers I work with Operation Warrior Resolution to hold the warrior retreats where we bring the veterans in. We have this unique protocol, and it basically resolves the symptoms of post-traumatic stress in just 1-2 hour session, right? And then we're talking like decades of antidepressant drugs that our veterans are on, talk therapy that does not work, suicidal thoughts, like all this stuff gets resolved in as little as 2 hours. And so we're getting a lot of great press. We're getting a lot of great donors starting to come in now. This is really awesome. So we held a fundraising event a few weeks ago, and we always have a speaker also. And this year's speaker was an active duty Navy SEAL that came out to talk with everybody. And this is a guy who, you pass BUDS training, like, man, that's hardcore, right? This guy who is used to like busting down doors, taking out bad guys, tip of the spear, hardest of the heart, and got up there to give a speech to everybody and froze. It was uncomfortable to see how uncomfortable he was. You could see the fear in his face, in the way that he talked. This is a guy that takes out bad guys for a living, has been in combat hardened soldier in a group of, hoity-toity little fun, donors, was really challenged. But I understand it, because when surveys have been done for people and they ask them which do you fear most, death or public speaking, most people say public speaking. And that fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear, like all those things come to the top of your brain. So number 15 here is to find a way to do public speaking. So first I would say to sign up for Toastmasters. Toastmasters is an international organization, actually. It's free. And they're designed to help you get over the fear of public speaking. So you learn about public speaking, you learn how to do public speaking, whether it is a toast at a wedding or a eulogy at a funeral. Like, you're going to learn that. And they teach leadership skills and things like that there too, but it's free. And you can find a chapter where you are. You can just go to toastmasters.com. You can find something close to you And go ahead and sign up for that. And, seek the suck. Seek the suck. Go do it. One thing, I used to be deathly afraid of public speaking. I love it now. I absolutely love public speaking because fear and excitement are the same emotion. It's the same physiological response in your body. It's just what our brains are telling us it means to us. We talk about it when it comes to like self-defense. If you're in fear of that big ass guy in front of you, then fear is going to make you curl up. It's going to make you pray for mercy, essentially. But you can harness fear and turn it into a superpower. You can turn it into super strength. You can take that same exact physiological response and rip this son of a bitch's head off and never quit. Same emotion, it's the same physiological response, just harnessed a different way. So Toastmasters will help you do that. One thing that I did was at my church, I signed up to be the person that does the announcements in the beginning. So start off the church, before the minister gets up there, do the announcements. I've gotten to where I make people laugh, and it's like I love public speaking now. All right, so that's going to be a real challenge for some of you, and you don't have to do all 15 of these things, people. But let me just close out here with a quick story. That was allegedly a story that was from a recruiting poster of the 1970s. And this poster I know very well because it was up on the wall in my basic training barracks when I first joined the Army. And on this poster, there's a picture of a World War II soldier, black and white. It's big, and he's all scruffy, and he's got this giant backpack on. It's snow all around. And the date on this story says December 23rd, 1944, Battle of the Bulge. And here's how the story goes. An entire U.S. Armor Division was retreating from the Germans in the Ardennes Forest when a sergeant in a tank destroyer looked down and he spotted an American digging a foxhole. Now, the GI, PFC Martin, looked up at the tanker and asked, "Are you guys looking for a safe place?" "Yeah," answered the tanker. "Well, buddy," he drawled, "just pull your vehicle behind me. I'm the 82nd Airborne, and this is as far as the bastards are going." I love that poster. Look, I don't care where you are right now. I don't care if you're 400 pounds or 40 pounds. I don't care if you have diabetes. I don't care if you haven't exercised a day in the last 20 years. I don't care. It's not about where you are right now. You can't change that. You can't change how you got here. It's what you do right now. Think about that. At some point, if you're overweight, at some point you decided, oh, I guess I'm not a 36 waist anymore. I guess I'm a 38. Oh, I guess I'm not a 38 anymore. I guess I'm a 40. You've got to dig your foxhole at some point and say, this is as far as I go. This is as far as I go. I'm a warrior. My family is going to need me. They're going to be counting on me. It's going to be my eyes that they're looking into in a natural disaster, in a parking lot ambush, in a building fire, in an active shooter scenario. It's going to be my eyes they're looking into for rescue. What kind of warrior are you going to be? Are you going to be a fat donut eating warrior that you just got a cool bumper sticker, big ass truck, wear a t-shirt with a Spartan helmet on it? Or are you going to do something about it? Because it doesn't matter where you are right now as you're listening to me. It matters what you do when you stop listening to me. It matters what you do if you're listening to me on a podcast and you're in your car to work and you get there and they've got donuts in the break room. It matters whether or not you're going to pick up that damn donut. And when you go and you take that bite of it, you think about your family. You think about what you're doing to yourself, your body, this shell that God gave you. the one that we fight to protect, your livelihood, your freedom. You think about your freedom, you think about your family's freedom and what you're going to do to be the warrior tomorrow, to be a better warrior tomorrow than you are today. Folks, all it takes is little steps. They all add up over time. That's what we focus in on in the Warrior Life Academy, is just small, consistent steps add up to big dividends. They're going to pay off, but it does take action. It does take action. So forgive yourself where you are right now, but dig your foxhole. Each mistake that you've made up to now is a chance for you to learn and get better. Do the opposite of what you were doing that got you where you are here right now. Because that, my friend, that's not failure. That's success. Your body right now, or your health right now, whether that's your brain, your body, or your backbone, it's only a failure if you don't learn from your past and do something about it for a better tomorrow. Now, for all access members of our Warrior Life Academy, next month's Warrior Workshop, we have a special guest that's going to be showing us benchmarks for every age. So what you should be looking, the things like, how can you give yourself a test? In the military, we have a PT test, right? We have to take a PT test a couple times a year. And that tells us where we are. Like we have to meet those requirements to be combat ready. Well, we're going to be going over the physical benchmarks that you need to hit in order to be warrior ready, and what to do about it to be more warrior ready, to level up. Simple things that you can do at any age, whether you are in your 30s or whether you are in your 70s. I don't care. Like we're gonna talk about it all, and we're going to give you a path to be able to do something about it. So if you really want to dig your foxhole, come join us. If you're already an all access member, make sure that you show up for December's Warrior Workshop. If you're not an all access member, at least go and join the Loot Locker. You can go to warriorlife.com/loot. You can join our Loot Locker absolutely free. You can get a bunch of resources in there. You can get all the cheat sheets for the podcast that we're doing right now. You can go back and get past cheat sheets, things like that. Just one page papers that you can use to basically create a binder for yourself of all the main points from our podcast. Right. So go ahead and do that. All right. That's it, warriors. Now let's see what you're going to do after you turn me off. All right. I'm looking forward to hearing about your success and about the warrior that you're going to be tomorrow. Until then, this is Jeff Anderson saying prepare,